All right. Hi, everyone. This is April Cox, and this is week number 2 of our author work group with our special guest speaker today, Bobbie Hinman. I am so excited to see so many of you joining. This author work group, for those of you who are reviewing the replay, is a 12-week work group where we take authors from the writing of their manuscript all the way through self-publishing. We do it with a 12-week live work group, which you have here. We also have additional tools, templates, and all kinds of things to help authors. So the goal here today is to talk a little bit about, let me just switch over to my next slide. We're going to talk a little bit about the assignments at the beginning. Each week in this work group, we have given reading assignments, and then we have special guest speakers that come and expand on some of the topics that the authors are learning. So again, this is April Cox, and Little Labradoodle Publishing is my company that sponsors this author work group. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day and working with us on these activities. So I'm just going to start by saying there was a lot of reading for this week. So sections 1 through 6 in the book that Bobbie Hinman wrote. It is called How to Create a Successful Children's Picture Book. So Bobbie Hinman is the author, so she literally wrote the book on how to self-publish. The first couple of weeks, we have a lot of pages to read. So this first reading assignment of sections 1 through 6, and I think next week is just as long of a amount of reading for the pages. Once we get to 3 and 4, you're going to be doing less reading and more doing. So you'll have, 5 or 6 pages to read and some activities to do. So don't get discouraged, and that level of reading isn't going to carry through the whole work group. Okay, so we're going to go through our speaking with Bobbie Hinman. I'm going to try to stop us just before we get to the top of the hour so we can do some Q&A. I expect that this topic is going to run through today, but also extend into the next meeting that we have, whether we do that on Tuesday with Bobbie, Tuesday evening drop-in, or we move it to the next Thursday meeting. We will definitely cover this topic in more than just today's meeting. So don't worry about, we don't have to rush through the material, and you'll have an opportunity to ask more questions as well. Let me just start this slideshow and move here. Sorry, guys. All right. Try to. View. All right, that's better. All right, so we're going to go through the topic today with Bobbie Hinman, who is our guest speaker, and I'll give her an opportunity to introduce herself. I took all of her fairy books. She is one of my mentors and people that I really look up to. The Not Fairy it's a 5-book series, and I think there's 22 or 26 awards for all of these books.
28.
28. Oh my goodness.
But who's counting?
So we have we are blessed with a best-selling and a multi-award winning author to walk through things with us today, and I'm really excited to have you here with us, Bobbie. I put some things that I gathered from some of the other discussions we've had as bullet points to introduce yourself here. But why don't I hand it off to you without further ado, and we'll get into some of the slides on the topic of writing it well, writing it right, and then we'll move on to editing and things of that nature.
Is there a way that I can see everybody again, a gallery?
Yeah, I think you have to do that on yours. On your view, you can choose how best to view the individuals.
Okay, I see where it did say gallery and I clicked on it, but I have 4 people down the right-hand side and the rest is the slide.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I like to see everybody. So if somebody's falling asleep, I can point them out and say, hey, get up.
Is that better for you?
I like to see the people I'm talking to if I can.
Yeah.
But if I can't, I understand.
Yeah, I think what I want to do is make sure that your video is highlighted. So I want to, as you're speaking, I want to be able to see you a little bit more closely. So when
Okay.
If that makes a difference.
Okay. And my hair looks better on that picture anyway.
Okay.
So if you've started reading my book, you have an idea who I am. I always wanted to write a children's book. I was a teacher. It wasn't until I had grandchildren that I had the idea for a children's book. And without the idea, you're not going to go anyplace. My idea, in case you haven't gotten to that yet, came from a granddaughter with curly hair, massive curls. She wouldn't let anybody comb her hair. And we babysat for 10 days, and I said, there's no way you're going to go 10 days without me combing your hair. And then out of nowhere came the story of the Knot Fairy. I have no idea where it came from. I had never thought about writing a fairy book, although I have always loved fairies. And I wrote the book. She let me comb her hair because she was excited that the Knot Fairy would come back and tangle it again. And all of her friends loved the book, and our other reading kids loved the book. And I said, hey, I can do this. I'm going to write a book. Backing up a little, I had written and published 7 cookbooks, but they were traditionally published, so I had actually gone through the process myself. And I never liked the fact that I got a royalty and the publisher got the rest of the money. So I said, this time we're going to do it ourselves. We're going to publish, we, meaning my husband and I, because it's great if you have a support system. So we incorporated and I wrote the book. I did have it edited, even though you'll find out that I'm an editor. I did have it edited. I learned a lot along the way. I made some really terrible mistakes. But the one thing I said from the very beginning was the book is going to be top quality. If I can't do it right, I'm not going to do it. So every step of the way, I did research on sizes of books, researches on everything from ISBN numbers to working with an illustrator. I did research. And the best research is something I'm going to recommend for all of you is to go to the library or go to Barnes & Noble and read children's books. Get a big stack and read. Because the more children's books you read, the more you'll see what you like in a book and what you don't like in a book. You'll see the sizes that feel comfortable in your hand. You'll see the text that you like. Pay attention to the stories. What stories did you like and which ones didn't you like and why? So I ended up, some people say you're very lucky to me that my books did so well. And my answer is the harder you work, the luckier you are. So there's a little bit of luck, but if you produce a top quality book, chances are it will do well. So instead of worrying right now about the marketing, I'm not saying don't think about it. I'm saying don't worry about that being the important thing in your life now. First, create a good book. Create the story that children want to read. Because if they don't want to read it, nobody's going to buy it.
That's right.
So that's kind of who I am. If we were in a group, I would say raise your hand, tell me what the last children's book is that you read, but we can't do that. So just think about the last children's book you read, and if nothing pops right into your mind, get yourself to the library. As part of your assignment for next week, I want you each to read 10 children's books in the age group that you wish to target. So if you're writing a book that you think is for kindergarten through first grade, ask the librarian to give you a stack of the most popular books for that age and read them. And just make notes in your mind of what you would change about that book or what you like about the book. Remember, if you plan to write for that age group and you're writing a picture book, that half of the story is told by the words and half of the story is told by the illustrations. So you're not going to say everything in words. It becomes too wordy, and that age group, they can't handle that many words, but they can learn from the picture. So let the pictures do their work. This is why with the books that I edit, the first thing that I do is chop the words away that aren't necessary. Because if you show a picture of the dog wearing a red hat, you don't have to say the dog is wearing a red hat, just an example. So know your target audience, think about who you're writing for, think about that from the beginning. One of the things that you'll learn from your research is the vocabulary for that age group. Don't use big words because little kids don't understand them. So pay attention to the vocabulary. And there are lists that you can go to online. You can just Google vocabulary for second graders, for instance, and you'll get lists of the words. So that'll help you. And think about how children think. Now, if you have children, you may know how children think. If you don't have young children, maybe you don't really know how they process information. For instance, they can handle, I'm talking, when I say the young readers, I'm talking about the 4 to 8 group, because that seems to be where most people are targeting their children's books, to the 4 to 8 group. Sometimes it's 3 to 7. It's flexible. But these are the ones that are in kindergarten, first and second grade generally. They can only handle one plot in a story. So you can have your characters going off in different directions. You accomplish one thing and then the character's doing something else, and the children can't follow that. And they're also very literal. Words and metaphors and cliches that you understand go right over their heads. For instance, his mind wandered. Now, what would that mean to a first or second grader? Nothing. His head is wandering away. These are words and phrases that I've taken from books that I've read recently or edited recently. Not to make fun of anybody, but to say these don't work. There was one book that said he let his imagination take him places. We understand that. Children don't understand where his imagination is going. One's like, he overstayed his welcome. That doesn't mean anything to children. He felt like a fish out of water. Now this was a very cute book that I read. It was in the library. It had nothing to do with fish. And all of a sudden, this little boy going to school felt like a fish out of water. And I thought to myself, what is a child going to take from that? There's no fish. The little boy is a fish out of water. What does that mean? Nothing. So you have to really, really watch those. And the way you'll know if your language is good for the age group you're writing for is to form a focus group. If you have children in your neighborhood or grandchildren, you sit them down. What I did was for my focus group, I went to my daughter's neighborhood. They gathered all of the kids they could because I promised them story time and ice cream. They wouldn't go for free, story time and ice cream. And I gave them the very important job of listening to my story. I didn't have pictures for any of them at the focus point stage. I said, you're really important to me. I really need your help. Before you get your ice cream, I want you to listen to my story and tell me what you think. So listen carefully, and then I would read the story. And they gave me such great feedback because they are the target audience. Mm-hmm. And then when each story was what I thought was ready to go, I called them back again, got them together, and they were a variety of ages, so I didn't care, whoever they could round up in the neighborhood. And I said, okay, now what do you think? And at the very end, with the Not Fairy, a 7-year-old said to me, that last line isn't right. And she was right, I changed it, and you have to listen to them. So it isn't that I don't believe in beta readers, adult beta readers. They're okay. The real beta readers for children's books are children, if you're willing to ask them and listen to what they have to tell you. So start rounding up kids. And if you don't have any in your neighborhood and you don't have grandchildren, you can go to a daycare center, you can go to a preschool. A preschool, usually they're too young to give an opinion, but I went to an elementary school in my area and I talked to the kindergarten teacher and I explained what I was doing. She thought it was a wonderful thing. So each time I had a story, I went to Lynn Hill's class and read it to them, and she used that as an educational tool for the kids. And the kids loved it, and I really got great feedback. When we were planning the illustrations for the Sock Fairy, and the last page I wanted to show the Sock Fairy's house with socks everywhere, but that's all I had in my mind, and I didn't know what to tell the illustrator. So I sat down with my first graders in Lynn Hill's class, and I said, kids, this is what I'm planning, the last page. I want to have the Sock Fairy's house. What should it look like? And my husband sat behind me taking notes, and every idea they gave me is on that page. So it came out like a Where's Waldo page. But they said, he should have a sock on his head. Okay, put a sock on his head. He should have socks hanging on the walls. Okay, we put whatever they said. So kids, use the kids. I mean, utilize the kids. That's a better way of saying it because they are brilliant. In a children's book, this is the only place where you can have animals that talk. They have great imaginations. You want your animals to talk. Your characters don't have to be children. They can be ducks or whatever, and it's okay that they talk. Use adjectives. For instance, if you have a brown mouse, if you have a mouse in your book, a brown mouse is okay, but a brown, soft, fuzzy mouse tells you a little bit more. Kids love adjectives. And if you use ones that they can relate to, you know, soft as a baby's blanket, or wet as the water in your bathtub, things like that, so they can relate to them. So adjectives are important. If you've forgotten from school what adjectives are, you can Google. The beauty of writing today is you can Google everything. And you can ask for lists of adjectives on Google. So you can even say adjectives that describe a mouse, and you'll get some. You can choose some from. But don't make them too long. And adverbs are also, adverbs will tell you how children did something. He walked down the street. Okay, but how about if he walked down the street lazily, or he walked lazily down the street? The dog jumped up and down. That's one way of saying it, but make it a little bit stronger. The dog jumped up and down excitedly. So add some movement to your story, some energy. Remember that kids live in the present. If you write a story for kids talking about something that happened too far in the past, if you were to say, his mother said that when she was a child, she did such and such. They can't grasp that. They live in the here and now. They're dealing with today. If you were to say, and then when he grew to be a man, you've lost the kids too, because that's too big a gap. And they're right here. They live right now. They live for today. They live for tomorrow. They can't grasp way back or in the future. Don't be afraid of silly humor. Kids love silliness. They love just silly words. You can make up words. You can make up your own words in a children's book, actually, if it's something that somebody can read and understand. I made up the word shh. Instead of saying just SH or SHH for shh, in the Not Fairy, the word shh goes all across the bottom of one page. Because it was very important. I wanted them to be really quiet, so it wasn't just shh, it was shh. So there was a story that I read recently that was about a rat that got into the house and ate everything in the pantry or something like that. So to me, it would be more fun for a child if you said the rat ate a bag of apples, 12 donuts, a pound of cheese, 2 boxes of crackers, and mom's hat. That really tells it. So, be silly, be fun. They love bathroom humor. If you can actually fit the word underwear into your story in a way that, that makes sense, kids love it. I would ask if you could raise your hands how you feel about sad stories. Should children's stories be sad? The answer is, it's okay if you leave them with hope at the end. Don't let a story end sadly and have no hope. So there are stories about divorce and separation, and there are stories about people dying. I read one recently about a grandfather that died. The little girl was sad, and we worked on it so that at the end the little girl felt lucky that he had been in her life. And so that was how we ended it, that she felt so happy. You can't just leave them at the funeral crying. Mm-hmm. So you can deal with those subjects, but you have to deal with them with tact.
Bobbie,
yeah.
I squished a lot of things into the slides, and I took from your book in the sections that we went through.
Uh-huh.
So I want to make sure I advance the slides a little bit, but it looks like we covered everything on the left side of this, although don't skip on professional editing is a big, huge exclamation point that we will talk about later. But what about eliminating unnecessary words, and then I can advance through. And I know a lot of the things you touched on, I also have on other slides as well.
Okay. Okay. I have some notes because I forget things if I don't have notes. Let's see. Okay. Some of the words that need to be eliminated. Let me back up a little bit. We talked about eliminating the words. You want to keep the word count down. You want every word to count. You don't want to clutter the story with lots of things that don't have anything to do with the subject. If there's an event going on, that the character's getting ready to go someplace or do something, and then you start talking about the fact that it was Mother's birthday and he was getting a present. No, you've lost them. Stick with that one track. Some of the words that people use a little bit too often are that and would. You could say, I made some notes of things. The children claimed an ice cream break would help them study. You don't need to say the children claimed that an ice cream break would help them study. So you could just take out the that. She insisted she wasn't responsible, or she insisted that she wasn't responsible. Technically, either one is right, but there's an extra word there that you don't need. So if you go through and take out all of the that's, you'll be amazed at how many there are. And the word would. If your story is in past tense, you can say, he went to the store, he went to the school. And you don't need to say, he would do this, he would go to school. Every day he would go to school. Every day he would come home from school. Every day he would eat his lunch. Get the that's and the woulds out. And another one that I
Used to, like we used to do this or that?
Yeah, that was similar to the would.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's right in front of me. I should just look at that. We used to. It's the same thing. If you're writing your story in past tense, we went to the school, we went to the store, we went to play ball. Not we used to, or we would. And you could also write many children's stories in present tense. Choose your tense. If you're going to use past tense, keep it all in past tense. If you're going to use present tense, keep it in present tense. But there are children's books that can be written in present tense. Sally wakes up and she goes to school and she sees the teacher is doing this, and she gets her paints and she paints a picture, and you can keep the whole thing in present tense if you like. Sometimes it's a little more exciting and kids feel like they're right there, they're part of it.
Bobbie, I took a picture of this people who will help you do it yourself from your book, and I just threw it onto this slide. So I wanted to put something in here to reinforce that. You can be a self-publisher and you can do a lot of things yourself, but that you also need others that will help you to get there. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about that and talk about some of the different individuals as well.
Right. If it seems a little daunting in the beginning, how will I do it myself? Take the self out of self-publishing a little bit. Call it independent publishing, because you can't do it yourself. Mm-hmm. There are people that you need. You need, in the beginning, you need kids, you need a focus group. You're going to need an illustrator, you're going to need an editor, you're going to need a graphic designer. Later on, you're going to need customers. You're going to meet teachers if you do school visits. And you're going to find that you build a network along the way, because you really need these people. If you think you're going to do it in your own little bubble, forget it, isn't going to work. So start looking for your resources now. Start keeping in mind which little bookstores, if you're lucky, are in my area, in my town, and go in and meet the people. Maybe that's where you can do some of your research. If you start a focus group in one of the schools, you've got your foot in the door to do school visits once your book is published. So be nice to everybody, smile at everybody, make contacts, tell them what you're doing. If you have a Barnes & Noble in your area, that the Barnes & Noble manager can be one of your best contacts. Mm-hmm. Go in and be friendly, tell them what you're writing, chat, build a friendship. Build the friendships right now. Don't go in and act like you need them. You don't want that relationship to feel like you're so needy. So.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to jump in and mention too is in the last work group, we had a lot of people that were getting stuck on illustrators, selecting the illustrator and moving that forward. So instead, last time through, I don't think we covered that until we got into like week 6 or 7. So I actually am starting to schedule illustrators so we can bring in graphic designers. Bobbie can talk a little bit about editing. We'll talk about, and the illustrators will be able to present a little bit about their portfolio, their process, and give you an opportunity to ask questions. So I'm also working with authors to help them find the resources that they need. And if you're interested in kind of seeing how that all works, you can stay after with me today. I've been working with Pat Wallace, and she needed a really quick turnaround for a cover illustration. And so I'm going to be showing her what the illustrators came up with. You're welcome to hang out with us afterwards. But one thing I would recommend is many of you found me and found this group based on Facebook groups that you belong to, the author, illustrator Facebook groups. If you start posting a question or saying, hey, I'd like to find an illustrator, and I like this type of a style, you will get a whole slew of people emailing you with their portfolios or links, messaging you. And I would just say, I think it's good to build your network. I love that advice from Bobbie. Think about the kinds of things that you can do yourself versus what you need others to do. There are a few of you out there who are illustrators who will illustrate some of your book. There are some of you that don't have that capability and will need to hire an illustrator. There's all different levels of people. Some things you'll be able to do yourself, and some things you're going to need a little hand-holding. So we're here to help you. I'm here to help you, and you can do some one-on-one coaching to just talk specifically about your needs, and there's absolutely no charge to do that with me. So as a member of this group, if you schedule your one-on-one coaching, just use the word first free, all in caps, first free. And when you schedule that, it will just zero out any costs that would normally come up for coaching. So, sorry, I just wanted to jump in and kind of talk about that and let you know that we are going to have illustrators coming very soon. So it's a good time to start looking at what types of things do you like, what kind of color schemes. And I had this conversation with Patty yesterday. We did a little one-on-one. And start looking at covers, what speaks to you. When you're in the library doing your research, start a little, whether it's a board you start pasting things on or just a Word document you throw things in, so that when we bring in the illustrators, you have a really good list of what you can show them and explain to them what you're looking for. So now's a good time to start collecting that information.
Yes, and that's for sure. Start looking for an illustrator. But please, please, please do not have your book illustrated before it's edited.
Yeah.
That's backwards. If you present an editor with a book that's already illustrated, there's very little leeway to rearrange and fix your story if it needs that, because you've already paid for the illustrations, and it's just really hard to do. You can have your illustrator lined up, you can have your main character sketched so you know what that person's going to look like, but wait until you have your final manuscript and then plan your illustrations. So please, please, please don't have it edited first.
Yeah. And I did throw this slide in because we had some questions during the last work group about, can you tell us about traditional versus self-published and what are the pros and cons of each? Do you want me to take this slide? Do you want to go through it, Bobbie? It's up to you.
No, I can do it, unless you want to. It's okay.
No, it's fine.
Okay, and then there's something I want to come back to, so let me, okay. Traditional publishing in some ways is very nice. If you're lucky, you get an advance, which is not a cash gift. It's an advance against future royalties. So when your royalties come in, that's deducted before you get any money. The publisher assists with the marketing and they store the books. Doesn't that all sound wonderful? However, today it's very difficult, especially with children's books, because so many people are writing children's books. You'd be very lucky to get a contract for a children's book. And even if you do, that doesn't mean your book will be published now. I'm working with someone editing books for someone who was just picked up by a publisher, and those books aren't coming out until next year. So he's lucky that he got a contract for next year, but we want to do it now. We want everything now. So, and there's also the complete loss of control. If your characters are children and your publisher sees this book and says, I think they'd be better if they were little bunnies instead. That's the way it goes. If you pictured your cover a certain way and the editor has different ideas, you are totally out of the loop, okay? Now, if you use one of the hybrid publishers and you have to pay them to publish your book, that's not a traditional publisher. So don't think of that as a publisher. That's just somebody helping you self-publish. But we'll probably be able to go into that too. When I decided to self-publish, I said, I don't have to collect rejection letters. I can do anything I want, and I can do it now. So that's what I did. But I had to be responsible. True, I had other people to help me with the work. I had to be responsible for overseeing everything. And it is not cheap. If you want to do it right, there are things that you have to pay for. You have to pay for an illustrator unless you're talented enough to do it yourself. You have to pay a graphic designer unless you're able to do that type of design work, which we'll get into also later. You have to do the marketing yourself. Now, I have to tell you, with the cookbooks that I published, my publisher did a lot of marketing. But I also did a lot of marketing because I could see where there were areas that he was missing. When each cookbook came out, he blasted it and it went into Barnes & Noble all over the country. And then he had other books to do. So in order to keep the books alive, I had to jump in and do a lot of work. So he did the bulk of it, but he did the expensive part, but I had to fill in also. And you have to store your books somehow. So unless you're using print on demand and just doing a short run, a few at a time, you'll need at least a climate-controlled storage unit, which is really the cheapest way to store your books. Print on demand, okay. Advantages, You don't have to put out any cash for the printing. You tell them, okay, I have an order for 25 books. I need 25 books, and there you get your 25 books. So cash-wise, that's good. Honestly, I haven't looked in the past year at the quality of some of the POD books, but you have to really be sure that you know what you're getting, because very often the paper quality isn't good and cover quality isn't good. If you're working with a print-on-demand company or a hybrid publishing company who say they'll do the editing for you, be wary, because usually they really don't have professional editors doing their editing. So with a hybrid publisher, they'll tell you that they are publishing your book, but you have to pay them $4,000. Well, $4,000 will go a long way toward doing it yourself.
And it's not just pay them $4,000. Do they also, some of them ask for royalties?
Yes, and some of them take royalties in addition. So it really, to me, does not make sense at all to do hybrid publishing. One of the really important things that you have to remember is that if anybody is publishing your book for you and they own your ISBN number, you no longer have the rights to your own book. So if a hybrid publisher says, okay, give me $4,000 and 10% royalty, and I'll supply the ISBN number and everything will be fine. Well, it won't be fine, because if next year you say, well, this isn't working, I'm going to just take that book and publish it myself. You can't. They own the ISBN number, so they own the rights to your book. So the ISBN number, which you can find in my book, you order from Bowker Company online. You can order one, or you can order a block of 10, and you must have it in your name. You must own your ISBN number. So that's really, really important.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Hold on. Let me advance this. So some of the pitfalls that we've talked about in the past, there are, and one of the reasons why I pulled this group together is because when I saw, especially new people, newbies we call ourselves, posting questions, there were a lot of different providers trying to sell things, and go to this hybrid publisher or that one. And some of the contracts, and believe me, I've gone through and researched a number of them, and the contracts are, very pricey. You lose a lot of the control because, like Bobbie was saying, they'll own your ISBN, and there's usually a lot of money going out of your pocket, and a lot of times they're not always honest, right? So when you start to see slimy individuals trying to make money off of people that are trying to make a dream come true, like publishing for themselves, it makes me very leery. So it's important that no matter what publisher or what individual you go with, whether you're interviewing an illustrator or looking to sign a contract with a publisher, make sure that you know your rights and responsibilities. Like Bobbie said, own your ISBN. Get some legal advice if you need it, and if you just want an unbiased opinion and you want to put some time on my calendar, I'm glad to help you research the individuals and make sure that you're making some good solid choices for yourself. And I do have experience with print on demand. I will say that the quality of the KDP, the Kindle, the Amazon's print on demand for my coloring books, I really love it. The colors are vibrant. Things look really nice with my picture book as well for print on demand. And there are a lot of individuals out there, a lot of authors who are turning to print on demand as a strategy, where they're saying, I can have my books printed, and I'll give you an example. It cost me $2.05 to have them print my coloring book. So if I want to go to an event and I want to order 20 of them or 50 of them, I just pay that $2 fee and I could take those books to an event. If somebody at home decides they're on Amazon and they're looking at my books and they order, now that will go in, Amazon will go and print that book and then send it to them. So, you know, there's no inventory sitting in a back room somewhere. There's some benefits with that. And also, then what Amazon does is they pay me a royalty. So on paperback books that are print on demand, I'm getting a royalty. I think it's of like maybe $3 or $4. So for each paperback sold. So I don't mind it. And what I've seen some of the more advanced authors leaning towards is they'll put a new book out on print on demand. They'll test the market. And if there's a huge demand for it and you know, that it really sells well, then they might invest in printing some hardcovers and adding a hardcover edition as well. But they don't want to spend thousands of dollars having a huge print run if they can't justify the kind of demand that they would need for that kind of print run. So I wish I could go back and do that correctly the first time as well. I would have launched my first picture book with a paperback first.
April, will they send you paper samples so you know the paper quality?
What I did is they'll send you a proof. So if you set up everything and you want to have them send you a proof before you actually approve it, then you pay the same $2.05 you would pay to order your book yourself and get it in hand and, you know, flip the pages and see how it's going to work instead of just counting on what it looks like preview on your computer, because you can't always see, you know, where the binding cuts things off, you know, see it in different lights. It makes a big difference to actually view it yourself.
Do they offer a choice of paper quality?
Oh, that's going to test me. I'm going to have to go look that up. I always just keep it to, no, I don't think they have different qualities. There may be on print on demand companies like Ingram, I think might have more options, more sizes, and potentially different levels of paper. I found that what gets printed though is a really good quality. It's maybe beneath what I did with my printing of my hardcover books, but it's still it's perfectly fine. I don't see any issues with like really thin or things that crinkle up or rip really easily.
Okay.
So, all right.
So, okay, this is kind of what we talked about in the beginning. I guess I didn't pay attention to your slides.
That's okay. That's okay. That's why I wanted to remind you that. So I think you touched on all of this.
Yes.
What do they, although on the right side, you know, what do they want or need? Okay, you did touch on some of these things, but I know that, I guess one of the things that I keep hearing over and over is with my first picture book, Puppy Pickup Day, I partnered with a former Disney illustrator. And the things that people really love about the book is bright colors,
yes,
characters, the emotion in the characters. Like you can really see, and they can empathize when they see a really sad puppy or somebody getting bullied. If they can see the emotions in the character, I find that kids really do like that.
Definitely.
And the rhyming and the repeating, like I have a repeating phrase in my book, and when I read to kids at school, they're always, by the time you get to the third one, they're repeating that phrase with me, and we kind of laugh about it and make a big deal about it. But repetition seems to be something that they really enjoy.
I have a lot to say about rhyming, but we'll have to save that for another time.
Okay. Yeah, we can move that to the next session too. We can decide, Bobbie, if we want to do that on Tuesday.
Or Tuesday daytime or evening?
The Tuesday would be evening. Is that going to work for you to do like the next session?
What's the date?
this coming Tuesday. Let me just look.
I don't have my calendar with me.
Tuesday, the 2nd of July.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay, so we decided that we're not going to meet on July 4th. We're going to add an extra week to the end for our Thursday meetings. So we'll continue additional discussions with you, Bobbie, and kind of cover anything that we defer, and then also have like a more question and answer, kind of ask me anything kind of for you or for me.
Okay.
Do you want to touch base with like the where do ideas come from and things like that? Or do you want to kind of break here and we can touch on, you know, what some of the things we'll be looking at before in the next session? But so we've got, you know, where do ideas come from? I have an idea, now what? Is your idea a good one? And we can touch on a lot of this deeper in the Tuesday session.
Okay. I also want to talk about the 3 parts of every story.
I think this is where your first bullet there, every good story needs a beginning, middle, and end. So here's like the helpful tips section. It might be good to have you get through this, and then we can see if we can take 5 minutes or so and take some questions before we focus on any additional topics for next week.
Okay. I mean, it's up to you if you want to stop for questions now.
Yeah, we'll leave these tips up, and then we'll start the new session. Okay. So I know I want to be very careful of going too far over, because I know some people are calling in from work as well. So if you have a question for Bobbie and you want to dig in a little deeper, just unmute yourself and you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Bobbie. It's Misty. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm wondering if you and maybe April can give us the names of the people that you did your large print run through.
Sure. I can tell you right now that my original printer was out of Seattle, and his printing company is in China. And
okay.
The last few runs that I did, I didn't want to print in China anymore. And right now, I'm not sure what it's like with the tariffs. But
right.
for my last run, I did from Bang, B-A-N-G, Bang Printing. And
okay, where is?
They're in Minnesota. I can have the information for you. If you can't find it online, I can have the information for you next time.
Yeah, or if you can email it to me, I'll post it in our notes for this.
Okay. And what I sent them an actual copy of one of my books, and I said, I need for you to replicate this. I want it to be the same quality. I want it to look exactly like this. And when they sent the proofs, I was amazed that it really was. I asked for paper samples. I compared. I wanted to make sure everything was exactly the same quality. And they did a really nice job.
Yeah, and I did mine through Signature Printing, and I will put the contact information for them as well. I was really pleased with it. They turn things around really quickly. And I do like being able to print, to say proudly printed in the USA without a whole lot of extra cost. Yeah. So it is a little, it's going to be a little more USA based printing. But at least this one wasn't, 3 or 4 times what I would have paid in China.
And ask for several quotes. Ask for a quote for 500 books or for 1,000 books. Have them show you the breakdown, and then you can decide if you want to pay a little bit more upfront and get a lot more books for your money. There's not a big difference in the cost between 500 books and 1,000 books. It's a big figure, but when you divide it per book, it pays usually to go for a little bit more. So that's why I say make sure everything is done right before you send it off. So you don't mind putting a little more in if you have to.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Anyone else have a question?
Thank you for sharing. This is Kate. Hi. I just wanted to ask a question about the age groups. Just reading your book, you were talking about picture books and children's picture books, and picture books being sort of 4 to 7 and children's picture books being 6 to 9. I'm really struggling at the moment to understand what age bracket and how precise an age bracket I should put when I'm sort of launching my fairy tale fraud series on Amazon, because I think it's probably got a pull for a wide range of ages, although the language will have new words for all ages of children. I guess my question is, I didn't really completely understand what is a children's picture book and what is, I can't remember the other term you used.
The picture storybook.
A picture storybook, yeah.
The children's picture book, now, there are not definite lines of delineation, and they overlap quite a bit. And a lot of it just depends on the language. Some of it depends on the plot, maybe just something that the younger ones can't understand. I decided to break where I thought it should be, but sometimes I'm finding that stories are really good for 4 to 8-year-olds. Sometimes 3-year-olds would really get a kick out of it too, so it's 3 to 7. But when you get into a picture storybook, that's usually over 1,000 words and a little more detail and more plot. And that is usually for a little bit older, maybe 6 to 9, depending on the story, maybe 5 to 8. I know it's very vague. It's very vague. And sometimes the editor can help you say, okay, this seems to me that kindergartners aren't going to get this, so let's go with the 6 to 9. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the 9, when I look at stories, 9-year-olds I know are going to go, oh, so we back it down. But in the end, it doesn't really matter all that much when people see the book and they pick it up. They know if it's for them. Mm-hmm. So I don't try to get too hung up on, oh my God, should I say 7-year or 8-year? Sometimes it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, oh, that's good. I just sort of see the categories alongside with Amazon, and you sort of have to click on age groups. I'm like, it's just a little bit muddy for this particular one.
And everybody's age groups are different. I'll tell you one, and they'll tell you a different one, and somebody else will tell you a different one. So,
yeah, excellent. Thank you. I do have a second question, and just your comment about always finishing with happy endings. And I don't know. I'm unclear whether I need to add an extra page to my book because of this. I've sort of got a cliffhanger, the 3 billy goats scruff going back and forth over a bridge, looking for greener grass, and eventually they end up in a land that's blue. And the last page was just the word blue and the goats just looking, we're in this land that everything's blue. And I sort of feel like that's a punchy finish, but it doesn't leave them in a happy place, right?
Right.
Would you... on balance there, how would you sort of respond to that? Would you run with the punch, or would you go, okay, we've got to make this happy for the children?
I don't think I said make it happy. I said leave them with hope.
Right.
So they're two different things. So I'd have to really see the whole story. It's okay to have something at the end for them to think about, as long as you haven't given them a terrible, sad story like Grandpa died and, oh, well, we're all crying at the funeral, and then end the book. So, sometimes a punch at the end is good. It's unless you've had something really sad going on and you have to resolve that for them. They have to know that it's okay.
They don't like unresolved questions or issues.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't even realize why they don't like a book, but something unresolved usually is a result.
Right.
Right. So I would need to provide a way out. Anyway, I'll think about this.
if you'd like to send it along, I'd love to take a look at it, and I'll let you know what I think with some fresh eyes.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else have a question for Bobbie?
I have a question about editing.
Sure.
First of all, to Kate's story, I think the blue punchline's hysterical. I think it's hilarious. I can see little ones just getting that look like, oh no, it's blue.
Yeah, if they leave that with something funny like that, that's not somebody died and now it's all blue.
Yeah, and I don't think it's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my editing question is, I have the story finished. I have a lot of experience with kids' books. I collect kids' books. I teach kids. I have a lot of experience with them. And I sent my manuscript off to a editor who is a professional in the field. And she sent back loads of comments. And a lot of them I disagreed with, and not in a like, oh, that's the way I wrote it, you don't like it kind of way. Just in a fundamental how children's book stories lay out. And I wasn't sure what to do after that point. First of all, it felt like she completely misunderstood like the feel of the story. And it was just strange. And I sent her comments off to lots of beta readers, and I sent them off to people who I respect, who know kids, who know their children's books. And they all looked at her comments and said, I don't agree with that either. So I'm trying to figure out if I should get a different editor, if I should pay for a different editor, or if I should just go with my gut on this.
Well, go with your gut as far as not sticking with an editor who doesn't get you at all.
Okay.
But don't go with your gut and go without an editor.
Okay.
So, and you have to choose your editor wisely too. And it's hard for me to, I don't want to come across like I'm the only good editor.
You might be.
But I see a number of books that have been edited by 3 or 4 editors. And by the time the 4th one has edited, the story has lost everything and nobody knows what it's about. And I always say, give me the original. Throw these away. Give me the original to work with. But choose an editor that has good recommendations and a background in editing. And go by the reviews and read the reviews on my websites if you're going by reviews.
Okay.
But if you're not comfortable, you should be able to have the relationship with the editor where you say, no, this isn't the path that I want to take.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is your story. And the goal should be to help the author write the story in their voice.
Right.
Okay.
So if there are things that are just wrong and it would be a terrible mistake for you to do it, I would say to somebody, these are the reasons why I don't think you should do this. But if you still want to do it, I'll do the best with it I can.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I can just tweak things and move them around and add a few things.
Okay.
Yeah. I've had a few books edited by Bobbie, and I've had such a good experience with that, as far as like she'll come back with things and I look in some areas and I'm like, oh, that's so perfect. She just made that so much better. And then other areas I go, oh, no, I don't agree. Like something got removed or words got removed and I just don't feel as comfortable with it. And so what I've done with Bobbie is just get on the phone together. I told her I'm like her problem child customer, because I like want to talk through it together and just like hear what she has to say and then explain to her why I think it's important. Sometimes I just so used to describing things a certain way, it comes as a shock at first of like, oh, yeah, I didn't really think about it like that. And then I have to kind of settle into that. But Bobbie is amazing doing that. She is, and never do you get the sense that you are too much trouble or bothering her. She is an amazing help with the editing.
Okay.
And well worth the money. And I will also share a couple of other names of editors that you can reach out to that have been vetted within our groups and are really good choices as well.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a quick question. Well, a couple of questions, I think, actually. So you talked about the need to own your own BSN or ISBNs. and then including a termination clause in the contract. Is that something that you could do with a standard, like a traditional publisher? Is that something that they would
No,
maybe?
no. If it's a real publisher, a real traditional publisher, they will supply the ISBN,
Okay.
and they own it, and while the book is still in print. But if it's a reputable traditional publisher, you don't have to worry, because the book will be in print until it isn't, and then when it isn't, it's yours again.
Okay.
You own it.
Okay. Do you have to have a termination clause for that?
If
While print, or is there like a certain timeline
when-
that it generally is?
Yeah, when you work with a big publisher, like my cookbooks were Random House, they have their contract. Here's the contract. You want to sign it, sign it. If not, goodbye. That's it. But they have the contract that works, that's legally binding, and they're not going to negotiate on a contract.
Okay.
So if it's a big company, you don't have to worry about the termination clause, because you're not going to back out as long as they're selling your books. And then when the books stop selling, that's when they will declare them out of print, and you get the rights back to your book. So it's not something you have to fight for.
Okay. Also, my next question, how can we get you to look at our books? Or, do we schedule time with you? Do you have like an author service that you provide, or how do we go about doing that?
I offer two services. I offer a comprehensive edit, and I offer critique service.
Okay.
So my critique is $75, and I will take your story and tell you everything that I think will make it better. I don't tell you just this is wrong, that's wrong. I tell you this would be better if you did it this way. And I give you examples, and I go through the entire thing, the format of the story, the characters, the dialogue. And then you can take my advice and fix it. Or if you want to go for a comprehensive edit, which is everything from grammar to dialogue to the plot, the whole thing, that's $300. But if you've paid for a critique and then you say, okay, now I want an edit, I deduct the $75, so it's only $225. And then you kind of own me after that, because you can, way down the line, you can contact me. I get tons of emails every day from people whose books I edited several years ago. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? Yeah, I'm happy to help.
Okay.
Yeah. Highly recommended. It's the best money you'll spend on your book, and it's really, really important to get that professional editing for sure. And if you would like to send your books over to me, I love reading new books to my grandkids, and we have like 3 or 4 stories a night. So I'm always looking for something new to read. So send it over to april@thelittlelabradoodle.com. And I'm glad to just give you, I'm not a professional editor, but I'll just give you, commentary and let you know what I think about it. And there are certainly, other places you can go to have people edit or critique your book. There is a Kid Lit 411 Facebook group that is a really, that's the source of the group, is to provide critiques to one another. That's a good place to start. There's also a software, it's an online community called Scribophile. And I'll put links to those in the notes from today as well. So Scribophile is a really good, I do recommend that as well. I'm writing a novel, and I release a chapter at a time, and I throw it in there, and I get some really great feedback, and some professional folks that have published books before are really helping me to mold my writing. So it's a great community to get involved in, and it's free software. So they do have an extra version that you can pay a little bit more to get extra benefits, but it doesn't cost anything for the initial software.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question? as you can tell, there's a lot that goes into how to write a book well. So come back on Tuesday, and we are going to continue this discussion with Bobbie. I also have a gentleman who is going to be focusing in, I believe it's the next meeting, or the next drop-in session after this upcoming one. Randy is going to focus on story structure. So he'll talk about the hero's journey, and maybe that's more, it's not as applicable for like people that are writing toddler books, but if as you start to get into chapter books and longer books or novels, that kind of hero's journey, kind of arc of the story, and how to develop your character, things like that become more important. So he's going to be dropping into one of our Tuesday sessions and doing a little presentation and allowing you to answer questions there too. So lots more information coming on editing and getting ready to finalize your story. All right. I also want to put a little plug in. I got an impromptu, happened to be on Facebook at the same time as one of the gurus that we have on Amazon marketing, Amazon ads. His name is Brian Meeks, and he is amazing. I can't even believe he agreed to let me interview him. And he is going to do a drop-in session at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight. And it's an Ask Me Anything session. I'm going to dig into Amazon ads. I'm going to have him talk about some new things he's doing. Not only is he an Amazon ads guru, but he is a multi-best-selling author of novels in a ton of different genres. And he's just doing a big book launch that is something to the scale that I have never seen before. Like, what he's doing is just amazing. So I'm going to have him talk a little bit about that. And he's talking about going wide in this new release. He's going to be going wide. And he's doing, for people that sign up for his book, there's like a 50-something emails that is kind of builds a relationship. And so he'll talk more about building your following and email sequences that you can use, that he uses, so that he's not driving himself crazy manually, sending out these emails, but how automated sequences can help you grow your audience and engage them more. So lots and lots of good conversations today. I will record it. So if you can't attend at 7 p.m. Eastern, I will record it and you'll be able to check in. And it was very much an impromptu thing. He agreed. I said, oh, by any chance, would you be willing to let me interview you? He said, yeah, I can do it Thursday if you want. But then it would be another few weeks before he had availability. So I jumped on it. And I do hope you'll drop in. Okay, so that's it for now. I am going to stay because Pat Wallace worked with me to do some things about illustrations we needed. So you're welcome to hang out and just kind of get a sense of what we've been doing with Pat, and also what we might be able to do to help you get an illustration, select an illustrator like what we're doing with Pat now. I'm going to share my main screen, and if you have to drop, feel free. I understand not everybody can or wants to stay later. Bye, Bobbie. Thank you.
See you all next time. It's Tuesday at 7.
No, I'm sorry. It's 8 p.m. Eastern for Tuesday.
Tuesday is at 8. Okay.
Tuesday is at 8. Today's session with Brian is at 7.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye, guys. All right. Let me go back here and do full screen viewing. Okay. So let me just make sure that I get Pat. I think your video's off, Pat, so I'm going to turn it back on for you. I can get my Miss Wallace. Where the heck are you? Here you are. And as we're going through things, you can feel free to unmute yourself. Hi, Pat.
Hi.
So I am just going to kind of go over, first of all, is it okay with you if we share with others, like what we're doing?
Sure.
So, okay.
Yeah, I think it's great
And
because
if you don't want me to include it in the recording, let me know and I'll cut it out. But if it's fine with you, I think it's a great example for others to see how we were able to move things forward with you.
yes, I mean, it's nice to see the process all laid out.
Yeah. So the big urgent thing, when I did a one-on-one with Pat and realized that she has a really good opportunity, but she needed a really short turnaround. She has an existing book called Grandma's Magic Peaches. It's right here in this top left. That Grandma's Magic Peaches is actually a children's book. So when I look at this cover, and I think Pat realized it doesn't really tell the story of what it is. I would have thought it was like a cookbook or something.
Yeah.
So when she came to me, she said, look, there's an anthology. There's other authors are putting some of my writings together. And as a result of appearing in this book, I get to put a link to my other books. And this one is going to get some traffic. So if I want to update the cover and, get the best possible result from this promotion, then it would have to be done really quickly, because I think it's next week, right? Or by the first week of July, you need to have this done.
Yeah, it'll be out, I think, July 1st, and they'll be doing a lot of promotions from the 1st through the 8th, but they actually already started doing podcasts yesterday. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So it's very, we want to turn something around really quickly, but we also had, I learned that Pat is an illustrator, and she does, sometimes illustrate her own books. She's a painter. She likes to draw. She can see the pictures in her head as she's, kind of writing her children's book. So she was able to give me a couple of sketches, like, okay, here's just like a thumbnail of Grandma, who is, has like this magic wand magic going on with floating peaches. And her little grandson over here he was in his jammies, it's nighttime, he wandered and actually caught her doing some kind of magical thing with her peaches here. So she gives me this. I mean, it might look really just very crude, because I can't draw this good, but she gives me a great visual here of some of the things she has in her mind. For others of you, you can grab clip art, you can grab samples of images and things that you like, color schemes you like. She also gave us some instructions about the purple starry background that she liked. So, and I didn't plop that in here, but she gave me a sample of that, which I passed over to the illustrator. You can see like the purple starry black background over here. Bursts to make it look like it's magic. A boy outside looking through an arch at the grandmother, kind of in his pajamas. So anyway, we went through this. I contacted, and here's on the left side here is a rough sketch that Pat also provided. So I think they used it to do a coloring page, right, Pat?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
But this gives a really good sense of where she wanted to go. So even though she's an illustrator, she also is coming to the realization that she could do some sketches, but wouldn't it be great to be able to hand that over to an illustrator that can crank them out faster,
Right.
And let her focus on the writing. So my goal was to find not just one illustrator to work with, but a couple and a graphic designer that could help make her vision come true for this cover. And so this first one here is Harry Avera, who I've worked with in the past. He's done my coloring books, and he's done some amazing artwork. just so that you can get a sense of relative price for his artwork, Harry usually does this level of illustration for about $35 a page. This cover design work is a little bit more. It's like $55 for a cover because it's front and back. Okay, so I'm giving you kind of a sense of what. So this is Harry. Now, when he initially put it together, I'm going to show you. He delivered this image here, which so we got this first from Harry, and when Pat looked at it, she said, he's supposed to be in his pajamas. He's not. She should have white hair. I don't like this dark color on the outside. I really want more of that blue shimmering, the purple shimmering background, like I said. So that's when he was able to then kind of translate it into this. Okay. Now, we also have another individual involved. Her name is Praise Prowler, I think is the last name. And the graphic designer basically just putting these different, you've got to have somebody with a good eye of color, fonts, and who can take your cover design, take what the illustrator did, and make it a nice cover that really pops. The graphic designer also does things for your interior as well, like, making sure that you've got text in a way that's easy to read, picks the text for you, places it on top of the illustrations that you receive, and they'll also help you with actually creating the files that you'll upload to Amazon. So a graphic designer and getting her involved early in the process was important. So what I did is I sent her the very first thing that came our way and said, can you start playing with some of the fonts? So she did. I like, there's a pink version. I kind of like the idea of peaches, the peach color, because it really makes the peaches pop. So that's, kind of other things that she's been just toying around with and adding some design of, the different fonts that we could use. So this is the process, right? We've got a couple of different illustrators. So it cost me about, $50 for one. And for this second illustrator, I went right past it. This illustrator here she's got a lot of experience, but her style is different, as you can tell. And her price to do the cover design front and back is $30 to do the front and back. And working with her, she has like I said, slightly different style, but it's $15 per page, per illustrated and colored page. So she is somebody who is certainly an option as well. If you look at the differences, some people gravitate more towards her style. She also has the ability to do multiple styles as well. And so I thought, why not throw her into the mix, allow her to kind of bring forward something, and this other illustrator, Harry Avera, brought it forward as well. So now we have the ability to kind of look through this, determine which illustrator we like better, determine what kind of text that we like, as far as, once we tweak things a little bit, what do we think of the font and the font colors? And so pulling that stuff together, I'm going to just back up a little bit with this one. Hold on. So what I did here, I'm hoping you can see this okay, but do you see this last page? I put like the 4 different ones that she marked up with the text. I put them in kind of a thumbnail, because when you're on Amazon and you're searching, you're going to see things in thumbnails that come up. And it's important that your book captures their attention with its cover. Sometimes certain colors in the title or certain ones, they're going to capture your attention more. So I did this, Pat, and I wanted to show you and get some guidance so that I can work with these couple of illustrators and we can finalize this and you can change your cover as soon as possible. I should have it done today if you want it. So Pat, what do you think?
Well, it's hard for me. The screen doesn't give me very much to work with. But just looking at some of this, yeah, I can't see anything because the pictures of people cut it all off.
What do you mean the pictures of people? Do you want me to?
The live.
Oh, let me just, you know what? We don't need to look at each other anymore. I'm just going to stop video on everybody. And actually, if you can easily just click your video button and let's turn the videos off. Then we can, sorry, I'm glad you said that. Let's just, so I'm going to say stop video for me. And then Patty, I think it's just yours left. Let me just take a look and see if I can shut it off for you. Okay. Stop video.
April, she might have to, this is Marion, she might have to change her view on her end. If she goes up.
It's fine now.
Okay. So did I go through all of that and you guys really couldn't see what I was showing you because there was too many?
Well, we could see it in part. It's just,
okay.
Yeah, this is much better because you can see. I really like what he did as far as changing the pajamas are much better.
Yeah.
And I really like the colors he's got.
Okay.
It's interesting because I can see things in each one that are good.
And that's quite often what happens because we might say, oh, I love this, but I don't like, well, I really love this magic, the way he did the magic, how it's magical.
Too.
I love that.
Too.
And Harry's also really good with details. Like I love how the dog looks.
I do too. The dog's fur is even detailed. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that he included this. I don't think he quite understands what I'm talking about, and I'm not sure how to let him know on the arch. This works okay, but I was actually thinking in terms of a regular arch that's outlined, which I've seen in a number of books, and it's just for branding purposes to be able to repeat the image over and over with different pictures inside and outside of it. So.
Okay, so I think the samples you shared with me,
Mm-hmm.
They had kind of like it was an arch, but it wasn't like a really sharp arch. There was all different, like it kind of melted into the background. So I think it'd be good to see if we can find an example of an arch.
Right.
You want to have it done.
Yeah, I think so. But I really much prefer having this sparkly cover background. It really improves it over having the heavy, dark stonework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think about the illustrator on the right? So you can see it's not nearly as detailed. It's I like the style of illustration. It's just different. I don't necessarily think it's better or worse. It's just different.
Oh, yeah, it is. And I like what she did with the pajamas on the boy. It's very nice details on his pajamas. And the dog is great. It's closer to the Australian Shepherd that the dog was supposed to be, but that I've decided that really doesn't matter because it can be any breed. And I like the idea of making the trail become the corner factors on the back cover.
I like that too.
But I like his magical kind of thing that he did with the wand and the peaches.
Right.
So yeah, it's
So now
interesting.
you've got to think, we've got to choose between the two, which one of these illustrators do you want to move forward with? And you might say, if it's Harry, which is the one over here on the left with the magic and the peaches. First of all, I love that the peaches really stand out.
I do too.
And the way that they look. But I like this one better. I think Harry's work is amazing detail, and it's beautiful.
I think so too.
Okay. Because then what I would do is I would tell him to do the same thing like she did here with the magic, with his type of magic on the sides. And then it sounds like if you can help me find an arch, or I'll send you a few examples. He's just having trouble understanding what it is that we mean.
Right. I realize that. And actually this would be perfectly all right, except that I'm thinking in terms of the series, which is 5 books long, and wanting to repeat the pattern on the cover for branding purposes. So
yeah, I agree.
Can I interject something really quick? I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
The ones that you're just showing right now look a little bit more like the one where you have the 4 with the words.
Yeah.
Look a little bit more like their arches, like he's looking through a window.
Right.
And just doing
so that's what Harry did first. He put it like it was like a stonework arch. That's what he thought she meant. And then I showed him the samples she sent, and then he updated it along with other feedback, like she wanted white hair, change the clothes to pajamas, things like that. So
maybe instead of doing the stonework, just doing the purple.
Yeah, do you want this arch to be that exact same arch, except instead of stonework, just put the blue sparkles like he has? The purple sparkles?
Yes.
Okay, what about Grandma's clothing? That's another question I wanted to ask. I kind of like this red color, the pop of red, although I also think that the blue and purple really complements things well. So depending on what you want to do with your, like if you like the red outline here, the reddish pink, then maybe her clothes could complement that. If you like this orangish, which kind of goes, to me, it goes with the peaches better, then maybe, having different, just complementary colors to her clothing would be good.
I like the clothing he did. I like the colors.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on because we've got several things happening here. The lettering, of course, is on the original and not on the one he changed to.
Yeah, because we just ran out of time before this meeting, that's all.
Right.
He's working on it now.
And I'm not sure about the style of the lettering. It seems a little busy to me.
Okay.
The bottom is fine. It's simple. The J should actually be capitalized.
Yeah, I made note of that as well.
And I like the one that has the golden color, I think, because it, like you say, it captures the peaches.
So are you talking about the one to the far right? Or are you talking about like the orangish color?
Yeah,
so
I
think what I'd probably go back and tell praise the graphic designer, I'd tell her to make it more like the color of peach instead of the color of a pumpkin.
Right.
So that it really brings out the peaches.
Yeah, the color on the last one, the final one down here, and the lettering. Yeah. Actually, I kind of like the title colors on that, but I'd want it to have more of the, I don't know, orangish tint like the PJ Rogers is. But I like that lettering, I think, on the title.
So are we talking about the very far right one?
Yeah, I like that lettering more than I do the
So
other.
is it
I
the
think.
second one, Pat, or the fourth one?
I like the fourth one letters because it's simpler and cleaner.
Yes. But the color of the one on the second.
Yes.
Got it. Now, what about the little boy's pajamas? I know that you liked, I kind of really like what the second illustrator did with his
Yes.
pajamas.
That's
versus-
what I said. I really liked
versus-
it.
So what we could do is, while these pajamas are really cute,
Yeah.
if I show him a sample of the other pajamas and just tell him that kind of style, then I think that would be good. And I think that it complements the colors too. The little pops of color like red just make a difference, I think.
Total
It
straight, no
raw.
style, cute. Just the little bare feet is really cute.
Yeah, I like that
Yes.
too.
Yes.
So are you feeling a little better that we at least have a direction to go in?
Oh,
And-
yeah. I think we can wrap it up today from what we're
Woohoo!
looking at. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I'm loving the cover and what I'm seeing for the final look of it, definitely.
So what do you guys think? Anybody else have any preferences, or if you saw these different books laying there, number one, does self-published author come to mind? Do you gravitate towards it? Does it feel like something cool you want to check out, or that your child might?
So when you
I would pick number 2.
Number 2 stands out to me as well.
Yeah.
yeah,
I think we could.
I love his style.
Yeah, I think we can even make the size of the lettering bigger if we took the swish of peaches and let some of them come in front of Grandma's belly. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so that we can bring some of the first couple of peaches down. That would really, I think, give more room for lettering and make that lettering bigger, so that as a thumbnail, it's going to really stand out.
it was a little bit hard to read with the orange on there just because it was compact and really similar color. When you first had all 4 of them up, it was easier to see just at a quick glance the very first one, just because the color was so different.
Let me just bounce over there.
Yeah.
I thought I had it on. Let me see, view, layout.
So I completely agree. If you just make that font a little bit, just a little bit cleaner, and I love the color of peaches.
Yeah.
But it was a little tricky to read. The purple stands out just a little bit more against that dark background. But I think if you have the purple background, then that orange is really going to pop up more. And if the lettering is cleaned up just a little bit, so it's a little easier to read.
Yeah, that's why I like the simpler
Yeah.
font.
So we've got font here, this font with the peach color will adjust the way that the peaches are floating. We're going to put some little bare feet and a more detailed pajamas. We're going to leave the dog as is.
Yes.
And what Praise will probably do is come up with just a couple of different options for that font. Because there's different treatments that can take place. Like
Right.
now she's got this light color with like a dark purple around it to help it stand out. So she might just use the peach color and give us different options of an outline to see if we can make it pop better against the sparkly purple image that the sparkly
Right.
purple background. So that will take care of that. And I think that we're in good shape.
I think so too. I think we're getting there.
Does anybody want to guess what it cost to do what we just did, as far as and how much time it took to pull this together?
Well, I think you said it was just a few days and $75, maybe $100.
Yep, we had a $100 budget, and I got a illustrator that was $50 for one, and that was Harry. So he's the one that we selected. The other illustrator I also invited did a good job and turned some things around, and also made it better because we were able to pull some ideas from her work too.
Right.
So paying her $30 for these ideas is gonna, I mean, she gave us more than $30 worth of ideas here. Between having these kinds of things on the back, she also showed us a kind of a back colored cover design, and these cool pajamas with the bare feet. So that's going to make this cover better. And then I also, it was $20 for the graphic designer. So that's it. We came in with 3 people, pinged them, got them started. And that's one thing that if you need help doing, just let me know. Let's get some one-on-ones together, because I can help you. And I have a good relationship, and once I hear what you're trying to do, I typically know which ones of the illustrators I've worked with that can really turn it around quickly for you, or depending on, the style you're looking for. So I'm glad to use my expertise to help point you in the right direction and negotiate some low pricing to move forward.
The other thing I really liked on the girls' rendition is she kept the head more true to form on the little boy. And he looks younger, and that's the way he's supposed to look. She kept more true to the drawing than he did.
I'll pass that feedback along to Harry, and I'm sure that won't be too much of an issue to adjust that.
Yeah, I really like a lot of things about her work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be happy to work with her in the future with some things.
She is the lowest priced illustrator that you'll find. $15 a page is like almost unheard of.
Yeah.
Who is that, April? What is her name?
It's a long Indian name. So I'm going to have to get it for you, but I'm glad to share it. If you just send me a quick email reminder saying you'd like her name. But she is not a newbie illustrator. She is my favorite when it comes to working one-on-one with her, as far as her communication style and her willingness to turn things around as many times as you need to get it where you like it. And she's got about 30 years experience in illustration. So I think she is a good person. I think her Facebook's first name on Facebook is Ezio, but she has anyway. I will share the link. I'll be glad to share the link with everybody, and I do recommend working with her. And you will own the artwork. It's all work for hire. There's no issue at all working with her. Okay, so I think I've got marching orders to move forward. I already paid the illustrators and the folks, because I wanted to make sure they got, for the quick turnaround, I wanted to make sure they got the money and move forward. So I'll just send you one invoice if that's okay with you.
Sure. Is that PayPal, I hope?
I can do PayPal, or I can send an invoice through Square. Either one, you can use a regular credit card.
Yeah, PayPal's all set up, so I use it for all my business. So
it's the same email address that we've been communicating with, right?
Right.
Okay, I can do that.
Great. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Excited. Now to get back to all the other work.
So I know you're juggling a lot trying to get this other stuff done. So if you want to touch base later and let me know if there's anything more I can help with, I'm glad to do whatever's needed to help move that along.
I'm going to tackle the landing page and get that done and set up, because I have to have it for a link to put inside the book. And then, once that's done and the formatting's done and the copy for the cover is done, and we have to talk about the back cover still. And
Yeah, if you want to put a little blurb or something on it, that
can I use the reviews from Amazon?
absolutely.
Okay, because there's like 8 5-star reviews on there. So I thought I could pick a few of the good ones
Yeah.
and put on there.
Yep. You could put a little blurb. You could put a little blurb about what the book's about. Sometimes what I do is I put on the back, I put other titles that might be related or that might be interested in, and I put a little thumbnail of other books that they can check out of mine.
Oh, great idea.
It's a selling opportunity, so we might as well use it.
Yes.
And if you want help with the landing page design and set up the email addresses so you can start collecting emails, that's something I can do very quickly and easily for you.
Oh, that would be wonderful to get some help on it. I haven't done anything like this in probably 4 or 5 years, so
Yeah.
it's like might as well be brand new.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of it, so
Great. Did you see the list I sent you of all the steps that I have to do?
I don't remember seeing any specific list. I might have
attached it to the email.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Okay, then I missed it. I probably need to just open that up and.
Yes, because I have things listed that I was like different plugins and things. I don't know if you've worked with them. But anyway, I sent you a list to get feedback on.
All right. I will double check. So it was in a recent email that you attached it to, right? Okay.
Yes.
So what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to pause our discussions and see if there's anyone else that hung out after class with us that has a question or a specific topic for your own work that you need a little help with before we go away. Any questions or things that you have specific to the work that you're doing? All right. So if nobody has any questions and you want to drop, that's fine. Pat, do you want to go over that list and hang out now, or would you rather get some other things done and then come back together a little bit later?
We can do it now. I have to let my dog out real quick, and then I'll be right back.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yep, sounds good.
April, thank you so much for today. It was awesome.
Good.
So much I learned, and I'm actually just going to send you over my manuscript just to read tonight if you want to.
I would love that.
And I've got a couple of illustrations. I'm super newbie at Procreate, but I've been kind of working with that just a little bit on.
Oh, that's awesome.
My own illustrations. So anyways, it's just kind of rough and not super detailed, but I'll send that over as well. And I would also love the name of that illustrator. So I'll send that.
You know what? I can pull it up in what I'm sharing. I can pull it up. Now I can dial into that. Hold on.
And how much was a graphic designer to do?
A graphic designer, she charged $20 to lay out the cover. Okay. And I asked her how much to format, because I'm working with another author who wants to take a book that was done on hardcover and wants to make it available print on demand. So kind of instead of keep printing hardcovers and having to outlay a lot of cash, she wants to just have it print on demand. So Praise is going to just take the file format for the hardcover and work it out so that it can be the right size for KDP. So she's going to run through all that, but she said for cover design plus layout of the book plus formatting the files so that you can have them to upload, all of that is $120 to $150 per book.
Wow.
So is that like it's expensive or not expensive?
Oh, that's really not, I was expecting a lot more for all of that. So
I did a wow too.
Yes.
I thought that was good.
So if I were to send her files of each of my pages, could she put those together how they're supposed to be in order to print them and things like that?
That's exactly what a graphic designer does.
That's fantastic. Okay,
Yeah.
because I don't know how to do that. So.
It'll be really good money to spend, and like I said, I have a few different graphic designers I work with. I have a handful of illustrators. I don't want to push you into any one, but whenever somebody's done a really good job for me and is really quick and, you know, able to really serve customers well, I want to make sure that the authors who are looking for people know their names. You know what I mean? So I think I'll provide a few different names, but and as the people that are working to do such great work, I like to thank them by letting other people know that they have this great skill and, you know, what the prices are, so that can help them grow their business as well. I'm gonna go on Facebook, and I'm gonna bring up the name and the Facebook page of the individual, a couple of individuals who did the illustrations. Come on, let's see, Ezio. Okay, so this is Ezio Di Ferenzi, is what it, so, and underneath she has Sangamarita Dasgupta. So I don't know which one is her company name and which one is her regular name, but you can find her if you look for EZIO, and she is in our Facebook group, Diane and Jay's Facebook group.
Okay.
So you'll find her there. She has, like I said, a lot of experience. Some of the things she does, I look at it and I go, I don't know if I would have chosen that for that illustration style. Others, like, so she's showing a lot of her different work, but she has a lot of books. If you searched for her name on Amazon, there's a bazillion of them that'll come up with her name on it. She's been doing this a long time.
April, do you think she'd be a good fit for my slime book?
Oh, yes.
I'm just having such a hard time finding somebody for that.
Yeah, I think the primary issue is how well is she going to create or translate the characters that are important to you. You know,
okay.
If she doesn't do a good job with the unicorn or your main character, the boy or girl?
A girl.
Yeah, girl. So if she can't nail those characters, then probably not. So what I always do when I have a new illustrator or I'm testing an illustrator with a particular project is I pick 2 illustrators and I work with them and ask them to submit a character design, and usually you pay a little bit for that. Sometimes it's free, but not often. Ezio would probably do it for free to do a sample, but others like Harry would probably charge $20, or Pradeep, who is from Pencil Master Mera, charges $50 a sample for his work, which is more detailed. Usually provides a more detailed sample. So that's where I usually start. And then it kind of like what happened with Pat. You start to look at things and go, ooh, I'm really drawn to this style. I really like a smattering of what was done over here, though. And let's, you go back and forth. What you looked at was like 3 or 4 different edits back and forth before we were able to kind of show Pat how far we've come. And I think now we're pretty close to being done with it.
Okay.
So that's also some value I can offer as well from, I'm doing this free work group, but one of the things that I really excel with is project management. I don't think many people could have gotten this done in like 2 or 3 days.
I don't think so either.
So that's the kind of thing that I've been doing for 35 years, just managing projects, people, relationships, getting things done. So if you've got some complex things going on or you need a helper to help you through it, let's talk. I will certainly give you a good deal for some project management help as well. And most of the time I don't charge for things, but I also need to kind of think about where I need to spend my time and starting to monetize a little bit for what I'm doing. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, guys. So
Thank you.
You're welcome. Pat, are you back yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want me to look at an email that you sent. Let me just go over and grab that.
Oh, one more question, April. Sorry.
Yeah.
Is Izio pretty fast, or does she take a long time?
Very fast.
Okay.
She'll tell you up front, like if she's in the middle of a critical deadline and she can't do anything for a few days or a week, she'll let you know. She's really, you can tell her, you can let her know that I recommended her to be a good person to work with. Take a look at her previous work out there on Amazon. You'll see that, I mean, some of the stuff is really, really different. Like it looks like a totally different illustrator. So if you can take a look at some of the things that she has out there, or have her guide you to her portfolio, anytime you're working with an illustrator and you want things to be done really quickly, the best thing to do is be able to point them to a style that you like, especially if it's in their own portfolio. Or with another illustrator, find something on the internet that or a book cover that resonates with you, and try to give them as much information as possible about the characters. Talk about what like how old they are, like write it all up, so that if they know what the character is, they have as much information as possible, then you'll have less back and forth. But Ezio is an excellent communicator. Excellent communicator.
Okay. Where is she from?
Somewhere in India, I believe.
Okay.
I believe. Not 100% sure, though. All right.
Thanks, April.
You're welcome. All right. So, search online. Pat. Let's do Wallace. All right, so this was the steps to relaunch. This is the one that you were talking about.
Yes.
Let's take a look at it. Yeah, don't worry about this. This download page, it'll be really easy. I mean, we'll just put a blurb up there to say that, to enter the information to get your free coloring page. If you have an ebook, or you have an ebook coming, you can tell them that anyone who enters their email will get a coloring page, and then will get a free ebook as soon as the ebook is printed or is available, because you're going to do a free ebook promotion anyway, if you're with Kindle Unlimited. So you basically, it's a bigger incentive for them, but you don't have to worry about this element or plugin or whatever you have there. Do you have a website that you want this landing page to live on?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So
did you look at it? I gave it to you before.
I remember looking at it with you, but let's pull it up now just as a opportunity, just to refresh my memory. I feel like I've been going in so many different directions today, and
I bet. I can't imagine. You're doing incredible stuff.
Thank you. So Pat, what was the web address again?
pjkidsbooks.com.
Got it. All right, so let's look at it. Is this a Wix?
No. It's WordPress.
WordPress, okay. So this is going to be really cool. If you see this offer at the top, that appears on all of your pages, right? Have the ability. So all we really need to do is have this new cover.
Yeah, and I'm surprised because I thought there was a page already set up for downloads, but I don't know what happened.
If you are willing to trust me to take a poke around and look on the website, it could be very, very simple. And we don't necessarily, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop recording.